So good afternoon, welcome or welcome back. I'm Jason Beal with Ingram Micro. I'm here representing SNIA Europe. Today we have a presentation from Christian Hagen, who's the Vice President of EMEA and Managing Director of DataCore. Christian has been with DataCore for over 12 years, has held various roles, technical roles, business management, sales. In fact, he's led sales in both the United States and EMEA at separate times during his tenure with DataCore. Interested to hear what he has to say regarding the evolving technology landscape and specifically interfaces and integration to cloud. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Christian to the stage.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christian Hagen, as he already mentioned. Although I'm doing that already for 12 years, I'm still nervous each time I have to do some kind of presentation. In fact, today we try to go over some kind of questions that are in conjunction with the role of storage virtualization mainly, but also apply to the general rules of virtualization over the past decade, and what kind of influence they still have on the businesses and specifically on the current evolving role of the cloud services. It's a little bit cynical to start maybe with the reference to the ongoing storm and hurricane that is currently hitting the USA. As you may have heard, already 16 people had lost their lives, but it will be also have, again, a great impact and discussion on how can companies and businesses survive such uncommon happenings and how they protect themselves within their given budgets. And that's somehow the way, the path that we want to go today. So if we talk about the current situation in data center itself and the constraints, what limits those kind of customers to possibly create something that fulfill everything of their demands, we will face several challenges. The basic ones are usually with the facilities. The ongoing growth of data and IT technology is usually expanding beyond the possibilities of all of our customers' facility ranges. And therefore, we have to find new ways how we can go outside of that boxes. Another very obvious constraint is usually the financial part. Although the storage is still eating up the major bucket of the budget, we have still some kind of growing budget, but it has to be shared over several disciplines that come each year on our list. Very primitive and simple problems are present as well. For example, the challenge to have non-shareable storage disk that is spread over all the company and cannot be attached from the individual users wherever they want and how they like to achieve their business goals. One very popular constraint currently is that our personnel, our experts, got consumed with more and more actions. The reality is that most of those administrators and IT engineers are not able anymore to gain an expertise status on a specific hardware type, for example. They have to be more generalists and have to be more managers rather than being experts in a specific area. Is it switches or is it storage or whatever? And that means that this kind of people got into a position where they need additional tools or additional management skills to really achieve their objectives or the objective of their companies. One of the promises that virtualization is giving is really the flexibility to connect all kind of models, generations, vendors, or disk interfaces into one common storage or virtualization pool. And the funny part really is that it still seems to be something that is not believed in the way how it could be done. On the other hand, with the rising success of our server virtualization colleagues, we see that this strategy is really some kind of a successful way to really increase the potential of the given hardware, as well as lowering the cost and the productivity. So the question really is, what is it that limits in this specific area of storage the compatibility of the models, the generations, and so on? And the answer is, unfortunately, not that simple as it should be. However, the good news is right now, with the existence of a storage hypervisor, you really overcome all those kind of connectivity issues, and you have really the benefit of putting together what is suitable for your business. So we just spoke about some of those obstacles and problems that really hit the customers. There's one additional one that I didn't mention, and that has specifically to do with the way how end users approach virtualization. And they do it usually top level down. What I mean is they start to virtualize their server infrastructure first and realize a little bit later, or maybe in some cases immediately, that this is not going to lead to the desired results, because the underlying infrastructure is not able to deliver the necessary high availability or flexibility to their server infrastructure that they had implemented. So what can we do about it? It's not really good to talk about problems. We want to listen to some kind of solutions. This, what I'm going to present right now, is very, very high level. That is mandatory. If you need more detailed information on a technical level, please feel free to come to our booth, and we are going into the bits and bytes. We have everything present. One of the major problems that we are confronted with is that most of our resellers and of the end customers try to solve a problem from a very, very detailed perspective. And they get so consumed and overwhelmed with the issues and the kind of constraints that are going to happen here that they lost track of their overall achievement. So one of the advices that we are going to give to all of them is try to take a look from above. See from the helicopter view down and really mention or try to explore what is the achievement that you want to try to get. And if we look a little bit detailed on that, then we easily identify that most of our problems can be solved with three major topics. With the resourcing of the pool resourcing, with a possibility to direct the traffic with automation capabilities, and, very important, to have a management that is central but can span over a lot of different locations. With these three major points, you are in a position to really achieve most of your objectives. So what do we understand under pooling? Generally, from a storage perspective, we try to combine all kind of storage resources in a generalized pool. That means really that it is going to span over all kind of generations that you have in your company, starting from the oldest DAS up to the newest SSD hardware. And what it makes also is that these resources will be then shared over all users or servers. It immediately is able to recover inaccessible or isolated disk space, and you can share that with your team or with your company and make here a significant step forward in regard of the cost. It also as it is a hypervisor, hides some kind of hardware incompatibilities. That means really that this becomes a standard interface to all of your storage devices as well as to your server devices. And in fact, it is some kind of interface for the future, because you can also put every new upcoming device immediately without any disruption into your pooling system. A major effect that is gained in regards of productivity is the possibility to automate. Allocate your space just in time. Yeah? We all know usually about functionalities like thin provisioning, but it's more about that. We do not waste storage anymore. Yeah? We also have the possibilities to work with so-called auto-tiering policies over a different amount of tiers and move our storage or our data to their desired stations. If a system is highly frequented, it is automated into the SSD part. If there is no action on that data anymore, it's automated to the SAS or later to the archiving system. And this is all based on generic rules that can be very sophisticated. As an example, we have to implement the possibilities of holidays or specific vacancies of customers where maybe this time frame has an influence how data is moved around. Yeah? And that you do not come back on a Monday and you can't start your system anymore in an appropriate time because everything is moved to a very, very slow device. So all that kind of policies are in that system implemented, but more important, the entire automation is completely device independent, as you will expect it from some kind of a storage hypervisor. This is really the very, very important part on the automation. Central management, as I referred already, the possibility here is to concentrate all the necessary activities on one console or on one group. And again, it is very important that we do not have any kind of dependencies to a specific hardware or to a specific system. Hardware itself, and I know the hardware vendors do not really like to hear that, but specifically in the storage areas are becoming mandatory. It's the same like with the telephones. You don't have to use a specific telephone that is delivered by the telephone provider. You can use whatever telephone you want to have. And that is really the desired outcome of any kind of hypervisor. We offer status dashboards. We can offer performance views on the individual behavior of each of your components inside of your storage network. And we can consolidate notifications and alerts that help you to react on specific needs. The external integration point here is absolutely virtualization. It is not possible to do that without virtualization. And I'm really proud to say that we are doing that for more than 12 years. It looks funny somehow. In one way or the other, I still believe that we need to explain storage virtualization as itself as a new upcoming technology. In fact, it's much older than storage virtualization. It's present and mature for quite a while and should not be really news to most of you. So if we have established something like that, there is a stage 2. As I referred already in the beginning to that disaster that's currently happening in the USA, we have the need for all kind of protection against human failure and physical failure. Yeah? So again, that is usually limited to individual hardware constraints. Yeah? Some machine can do stuff, some machine can't do stuff. Some are more modern technology and can span over 100 kilometers. Some can only be connected peer-to-peer. There's all kind of constraints here. So There's another constraint. If we talk about the possibility to protect our business, there are only two ways of doing that. On one hand, you have the necessity to do something like a synchronous mirrored high available system. That means redundancy, and that means in the consequence really path redundancy and data redundancy. On top of that, because synchronous mirroring is limited still to a specific distance, somehow 100 kilometers maybe, you may have the need to protect your data somewhere else, that is thousands of miles away. And here we are talking about that thing that is called asynchronous replication, that move the data to any desired area in the world. So both activities have one big disadvantage. They are usually pretty cost intensive. And how do we get into that? I'm not promising that you will be able to achieve all of that without any kind of investment. And that is also the natural game of our business. We have to invest to be able to compete. But there are ways to get it done with a reasonable amount and not spending insane numbers for the same stuff. If you have the possibility to connect wherever you can go under different roofs. You have the possibility to do equipment upgrades and maintenance externally. And that is one thing that we should not forget. The usual perception that the most disasters are going to happen because of crashing airplanes, hurricanes, or earthquake is not really correct. The most disasters happen due to human errors while trying to do an upgrade, a microcode upgrade, or something else in the existing infrastructure and messing up the system. There's a reason why specific hardware vendors are not allowing normal customers or resellers to touch their systems if they have to do an upgrade or a maintenance update. Because it's not as tricky or simple as they try to explain. The storage hypervisor takes that away. Instead, it delivers the chance to really do any kind of activity without any possible harm. Again, we are in front of a very technical, detailed discussion. Maybe I'm happy to share that with you if you come later on. We have all kinds of influences, parts here, air conditioning, construction, water leaks. So it's absolutely necessary that you at least have some kind of auto failover possibilities within a metropolitan area. And here, that's my favorite topic. It's very important to difference between the phrases that may have different meanings. I'll give you one example. High availability is something that is widely used from any kind of storage vendor in our industry. But it means complete different things if you go into detailed questions about a specific hardware or a specific technology. And what we understand about high availability is really a 999 and a transparent failover that doesn't even bother any of the users or consumers in regards of the storage. And that really needs to be done over all kinds of different storage devices. With that, we are opening that now to the next level. I just spoke mainly about the standard way of connecting all kind of storage infrastructure to a specific network. If it is spanning over different locations or in the same, doesn't matter. But we now have also another option, and that is the public cloud. What currently technologically is necessary and already present is a possibility to get some part of your data center infrastructure out. You can rent temporary space. You can archive or disaster recover the copies that you need to the public cloud. And it usually is some kind of low-cost expansion. The interesting part here is that it needs to be done on the same premises on the same way than you would do it in your normal infrastructure. It doesn't make sense if you have to create a different group, a different management type, or whatever. It needs to be done under the same way of business than before. So the public cloud really offers this option. And by the way, if you just asking yourself, the same is true for a private cloud. Yeah, I mean the differences here are somehow vague. So what really happens is the off-premise storage appears to be local. The users and apps can't tell, is it here or is it somewhere else? It doesn't matter anymore. The storage hypervisor makes it transparent. That delivers protection and productivity benefits in general. The same principle are just extended. The pooling, the automation, the central management is all still within your competence center, but it's now spanning over a much, much bigger distance or a kind of infrastructure. So what we see here is the possibility to rethink several of the normal decisions that data center managers have to do. Do I really need to buy additional storage in a year-to-year base? Or can I do flexible stuff? In general, the entire virtualization has their main benefit in delivering flexibility. You all know how bad it is if you are somehow locked in to a specific decision, if your bandwidth is limited, if you're just able to buy from one vendor, or it makes it very, very expensive to change. Yeah? With this, in regards of virtualization, that kind of issue is over. But it requires the way or the decision to go into the storage virtualization or into the hypervisor technology. The outcome really is simple. Limitations are removed. The amount of decision freedom is maximized. The resources can be used individual and in line with the necessary needs. And you can already take full advantage of your existing investments. That is one of the major factors that are still usually not seen. In the experience that I have with over 12 years working for DataCore, it usually is a matter of fact that a company starts to build something on a green field again. In reality, there are a lot of options within existing infrastructures if you choose the right way of doing that. Yeah? And it also helps you in deferring acquisitions of additional storage devices. I was attending yesterday a session from the IDC, and they put some interesting slides on the screen, and that specifically for Europe and in Germany, it was absolutely insane and obvious how the storage hardware sales jumps up every time the fourth quarter is coming. You'll all be very familiar with that. One of the outcomes of that is that it looks like that most data center managers really think about a year. They are able to put their investment scheme in such a time frame. Other than that, it's not really logical why we have always this kind of peak in the fourth quarter. And this is really stupid from different sides, because it really limits a lot of our potential. Because higher level of services are not delivered with that. You stick to your decision. But in many, many cases, the dynamic of our industry requires new decision. You need SSD all of a sudden, or several other things. And you can use, with that kind of way, including the cloud, the possibilities of provisioning space, remove storage-related disruptions, and speed up your app responses. All that is pretty simple, possible with that kind of technology. So I would like to say that the cloud, in general, is just the next evolution of storage virtualization and server virtualization. It makes a lot of things very, very flexible. It has also some limitations and disadvantages, clearly. But from the current perspective, it looks like the desired next evolution in our technology and the way it could be done. I was not really thinking that I could do it in one stream. Yeah. I'm not exhausted, so I still can answer questions if you have. Or we stop it right now and gain additional break minutes. So very flexible from my point of view. Any kind of questions specifically to storage virtualization? Not one simple one? Yeah, sorry.
When I do storage virtualization, I use my whole storage for all the different systems. How do I manage the risk when something is failing or the network is failing or some of these?
Yeah, the question really is in regards of the possible problems, failures. I interpret your question more now in the way that a technical failure or something like that can happen. And that is pretty simple. The question is very relevant, but the answer to that is pretty simple, and I said it already. What you need to understand is if you want to have this specific kind of high availability, you have to have the path redundancy and the data redundancy. That is the mandatory paradigm for getting into that stage that allows you to not suffer under those conditions. And that is not something that is new. I mean, that is pretty common. One other point to mention in this here, because you said it in this way, most people think about the issues are coming with technological failures. Yeah? The switch goes down or whatever. In reality, the potential of having issues that are human-related or, let's say, related to some kind of upgrades in kind of part of that very complex scenario, that is more given. And the storage hypervisor simplifies that very much because in reality, the storage hypervisor presents one face to the application servers and one face to the storage infrastructure. And that eases up the entire complexity of having thousands of firmware levels from different HBAs connecting to specific storage boxes with some kind of storage related questions. And on top of that, if you have, for example, the question of supporting new operating systems, we can take VMware, for example. A lot of our customers do not have the benefit that their existing hardware is already certified to the newest VMware ESX system. But with a storage hypervisor in between, that problem is away because the front-end face to the VMware is a certified storage hypervisor that fixes that issue. And that is something that you really need to have in your mind. The front-end to the operating system as well as the front-end to the back-end is now very transparent, but in a specific interface mode. Did I answer your question or sneak that around? Okay. More questions? Oh, it was not such a good presentation. There must be. A few. One. No? Okay, yeah.
Thank you. How secure are my data on a cloud system? I imagine when it's like when every kind of company storage their database on a cloud system, it's more and more centralized and easier to attack from besides than when everybody is decentralized.
I agree with you. Very good question in terms of the security. My point is that I would not recommend to put your active, real necessary company data into a cloud. The current strategy for most companies is they do the archiving or stuff like that into the cloud. And I asked the same question yesterday, by the way, during the IDC thing, with knowledge that there are viruses out like the Stuxnet everything that are able to sneak into very, very protected areas. I don't think that it should be underestimated how secure the data is. If you talk to the cloud service provider, they will explain all and everything. They have also the standard hardware security. But in regards of criminal or economical threats, I think there is currently no valid answer present. What I do mean with economical threat is very simple. Most of you don't imagine that, but guess if Amazon will get broke or get bought by somebody else. We do not know really what's going to happen. A company that has just a margin of 0.5% on everything is still vulnerable. Okay, they do a lot of stuff, but the same happens to Microsoft. Microsoft is in a battle with Apple or Google and whoever, and nobody knows who's going to succeed. And if you store all your data on their cloud systems, it is something that is, from my perspective, not the optimal way to minimize risk. But that is just my personal view. So my advice in this case is really to understand the risk and share with the public cloud what you would like to share. Think about that reasonable. Don't put everything in there and be blamed later on for doing that. Don't let the common sense go away by a simple financial advantage. I think that is currently one of the things that everybody needs to do still. We should not shut our brain off just because an opportunity is present. More? I'm faster than I thought. Okay, I can dance if you want. No? Sing also? No, don't do that. Okay, then we are finished. Thanks for the attention.